So here it is, the second episode of Solo Leveling, and it definitely does not disappoint. If you guys saw this episode, the amount of blood that it rained down in this one episode, even I was like, dang, I'm surprised how bloody this is. But I will say there was some added scenes that kind of made it a little bit bloodier than it actually was in the manga, just to stress how awesome this anime is and will be. So we finally get this scene right here, which for those that are aware of this memed out image, we've been waiting for the creepy smile from the statue. Because this statue, at first, you think it's all, oh, it looks all holy and everything. Nah, when it starts looking like the Joker, you know that there's some issues about to come out. Even though the raid party started with 17 people, some of them died by their own stupidity, okay? Now, granted, different people act differently in traumatic situations, believe they have the answers, believe that they can actually like rise above the situation they're in and just kind of like, well, I'm going to survive by doing so-and-so and want to kind of direct their own lives. But come on now, you just don't just throw away your life and just die. For example, Mr. Trackstar here, who's like, oh, I'm confident in my abilities. I'm confident in my speed. Oh, I know I can make it. I wanted to know what was going through his mind, because even if he was fast enough to get to the door, it takes time to open said door. You guys saw the guy that died in last week's episode that got chopped when trying to even get near the door. My dude's like, oh, I'm confident in my speed. I gotta get out of here because I got signed up to a guild. Like, what are you gonna do? Even if somehow the laser beam comes down and stuff and you're able to outrun it all and get to the door, you have to slow down to open said door. Because this is a massive door. It's not going to just open just because you went to it and touched it or you get teleported to the other side of it. Speed does not translate to another factor like speeding up the opening of a door. Oh, dude's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm going to make it. Yeah, guess what? You can't outrun the speed of light. You see him now and he's gone. Hey, I'm glad you're confident in your speed. It's the only thing that existed after you died or you got evaporated. Yes, I know it's vaporized, but I'm just saying it's just so bad. We got old dude here that's like, okay, all right, the objective is to praise him. All right, cool. You know what? I was brought up in church. I could sit here. I know how to pray. And he's like, yeah, I just sit here and pray. It's gonna stop it. The statue's still walking towards you. It's still coming. At no moment did it like completely stop once you started praying. I understand him having faith, like, okay, maybe if I pray hard enough and have the faith, I'll actually live through this. But once I start seeing the foot, it's literally still walking at you. At some point, you're gonna be like, I don't think this is working. You know, maybe this isn't working as intended. Maybe we're wrong here at some point. Like something needs to trigger in you to be like, get out of the way. But no, I'm just gonna sit here and pray and then, maybe it'll be fine. Maybe the faith will keep me alive. Yeah, it kept him alive, all right. He realized how alive pancakes are. Now let's not even talk about this girl who's essentially, yes, it's a traumatic experience and everything, but she decides just to sit there and just like, oh, well, I guess I'll just be here. Traumatic experience, no preservation of life at all. No self-preservation that you were like, I want to stay alive. Let me get out of here. Run for it. I mean, if something, now of course it's a big statue, so it doesn't need to take as many strides as, a said person. Because whenever something's smaller than you, it has to run quicker to get away from someone that's a lot taller that could take a couple of steps. So granted, guess what? There's something called running perpendicular to, if it's going one way, you go the opposite way at a right angle. So then that way, either A, it has to go towards somebody. It's targeting somebody. So if it's targeting someone, you go literally the angle away from it so you can run and at least have some sort of head start. No, just go sit here. It'll be fine. It'll be perfectly fine. You know, I was very irate at this guy because if you want to check out my reactions, you can check it out on Patreon. I have the full video reaction to the full episode there. But this guy right here, they pretty much die because of him. If all they had to do was literally be around the altar, stand there, look at the statues. You know, of course, I'm sure there's some blinking involved, but basically stare at the statues and they stand still. It literally is, hey, that's all we have to do. There's blue flames around us. When the blue flames go away, time is up. Everyone's cool. But this guy's like, well, that's a great theory, but are you sure about that? Well, of course he can't be sure about anything. He could have been sure about, hey, if we had to bow to it, and that would have been okay. He couldn't have been sure about the whole instruments of the statues. None of it he could be sure of, but it's the best hypothesis you got at the time. And then it's like, oh, we did all that and we survived. So all you gotta do, here's the hypothesis, just look, stand there. Nothing else you have to do. Just watch these statues. Everything will be fine. Dude's like, I don't know. I got a family. I can't just die here. And yes, it's a test of faith because here you have a big open door. The exit's right there. But all we're asking to do is just stay right here just a little bit longer and you'll be rewarded. We don't know this for sure. And that's why this guy has this feelings like, I don't know for sure, but there's a door right there and he wants to leave. This is why it's a test of faith. The faith, and now granted, of course, they're having a traumatic experience, and through trauma like this, when you see the exit where you can escape and at least be safe, and it's just tempting you right there, it will be very hard not to go for it. I understand that. But through his action, he assures that there is someone going to die. Like, you can't leave because we all want to make it safely, but through your leaving, your betrayal, one of us for sure is gonna die. But he didn't care. He's like, I'm sorry, I got a family, goodbye. We've seen game shows where there's been betrayal and maybe a possibility of multiple people winning, but then because someone betrays everybody else, there's going to be a definitive winner, definitive loser. Yes, it's granted that it's happening, and yes, that is human nature. We could really delve into the whole psyche of human beings in this instance, as far as whether or not was it right for him to do this or not. I'm just going to go ahead and say, no, it wasn't right for him to do that. All he had to do, when you have a test that literally says the title, this is your test of faith, and he's showing he has no faith and he just dips. It makes me wonder, what if I did stay? What if I did have a test of faith and I passed it? What would be the reward? Especially through this whole traumatic experience, but, well, no reward for him. And unfortunately, because of his action, we lose our main character. Now, as far as some differences that did happen in this episode, there was, honestly, for the most part, the episode stayed true to the actual manhwa. The only real things that I saw was there was some, I guess you could say, extended scenes. Like the whole scenes that added his sister was not as prevalent in the manhwa. Like there was really no scenes of his sister at this moment in time. The fight, if you will, when he had the sword and he was like, oh yes, come at me. And he kind of just got tossed around like a rag doll. That was extended because in the manhwa, as soon as he like raised his sword, like he gets speared almost straight through his body and gets flung on the altar almost immediately. Kind of showing how useless he is, because here you are, a human being up to these pillar-like statues. In the actual episodes, how they kept like beating him and moving him and hitting him around and stuff, and he kind of got flung every which way. Yeah, that was kind of added in, while the manhwa just like, nope, spear, flung up, and then right on the altar. I guess it's okay because it makes sense. You're kind of showing here how at the altar there's a timer and the time is running out. So while he's being flung around and everything, still alive, mind you, because it kept showing the flickering of his red flame. And if you notice, the red flame kept looking like it's getting diminished slowly and slowly, representing how close to death he is. Yet here he gets flung on the altar and then you see on a briefest of moments the last blue flame go away, and then it kind of cuts to the end of the episode. Very great episode, amazing episode. I'm surprised that a lot of the stuff that's been happening hasn't been as edited, I guess you could say, like censored, but that's a good thing, because if it's gonna kind of show how gruesome hunting is at this moment in time, man, in the future it's only gonna get better, worse, however you want to say it. But I have to give it to our MC here. It sucks. It sucks the way that he was done wrong and got to this moment, but we'll see what happens in the future, and maybe it won't be as bad as we think it is. But great episode, and such great direction in these first 2 episodes to show like the disparity of him being an E rank, and then yet and still, even though he was an E rank, he was the one that came up with all the ideas and had the mentality to keep everyone alive. Like at the end of this, 6 people survived. Well, 5 people escaped, if you will, and he's the 6th. And because of that, it started at 17 and it went down to 5, thanks to him. And if he had said nothing, they all would have died, all 17. But, you know, pour one out for the other 11 so people. But great series. We're starting out strong, and I can't wait to see next week's episode, because it's only going to get better from here. But for those that haven't watched this before, I hope you guys have enjoyed. I hope you guys have your say-so on this. Definitely comment down below what you guys think, and we will definitely be enjoying more episodes of this. And like I said, feel free to catch the actual Patreon reaction on our website, analyze it, because this is going to be a lot of fun. You guys be safe, take care, and Lord willing, I will see you next week. Bye-bye for now. Make sure to check out the extra content on our Patreon page, and thanks to our current patrons.
This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon.